Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for Justified City Primeval, Season 1, Episode 4. Let's just start this with a public service announcement for one Clinton Mansell. Get some pants. Like, come on.
I know what is happening every episode. It's all out there,
I
man.
do not need your tidy whities. I do not need to see them anymore. I'm good.
No, I feel like I'm really good with that as well. Like it's enough.
It's a choice.
How about close your robe? If you can find pants, close your robe. Nobody needs to see this.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're good. Okay, would you all be as intimidated by Clement Mansell if he closed his robe and just gave us some peace? Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely.
No, this episode,
Pants or no pants? Leave us a comment.
eternal question. I think this episode, it furthers along some stories, and I think there's some good action moments in it. I do think at the same time, though, it's also kind of exposing the problems that they're dealing with and sort of the struggle of Justified moving into a new era, sort of post Boyd Crowder, where you've got like these 8 episodes where you're trying to get to know everybody, and sort of the question comes in of like, okay, are we connecting to everyone other than Raylan enough? Like, are we really getting invested in everybody enough?
Yeah, there's a few issues that this season is having, and of course we'll get into all of that as the video progresses. But yeah, there is some characters that I just don't know enough about yet. I mean, there's only 8
I
episodes.
know.
Like, we're in the 4th episode. I barely know anything about Sweetie. I'm only starting to get to know Carolyn, who is a great character.
Yeah.
I'd really like to get to know her more. We spent so much time with the daughter is not even there anymore. It's just kind of like, what was the point then? It's a bit all over the place. And this was the first episode where it actually feels like Justified is starting, which is very weird
Yeah.
because we've already had 3 other episodes.
Well, we will progress further and further into all of this, but for now, just join our Patreon by checking out that link in the description below, because every Tuesday,
Yep.
we are over there talking live to all of our patrons about Justified City Primeval,
Yep.
all sorts of other great TV. You know, we would love to have you guys be a part of it, to join in that discussion. And of course, checking out that link is the best way to do so. And thank you to everyone who has done so far.
Yeah, thank you so much to all our patrons. It's been really fun having these live chats about Justified over there. Okay, so as I mentioned, the daughter
Yeah.
is gone. She wasn't in this episode. I think there were a few of us out there that were like, is she really gone? Is she going to be coming back? Did she do one of these on the plane? Boop, and right back out again, and she's going to pop back up? She's gone, at
Yeah.
least for now. And for me, one of the things that I really enjoyed about the original Justify, which is why I made that comment that it feels like we're actually just starting now, is watching Raylan work. Like, watching him work to take down the bad guys, or sometimes having to work with them, or, kind of riding that line of living in the gray area, when do I do this? When do I not do this kind of thing? And we haven't really been able to have that because the daughter has been around, who had been pulling him away from work to kind of be like, oh, why do you think I punched that girl in the nose? I want to be able to spend time with you. Don't go to work. Don't pick up that phone. We don't, spend time with me instead.
Yeah.
I'm not watching the show for this. I understand Raylan's a dad and I understand he's dropping the ball, but I'm not watching for this. I'm watching to watch Raylan do what he does best, which is catch bad guys, work with bad guys to catch more bad guys, whatever it is
Yeah.
he needs to do. And he's in a position this time around, though, that he's up against Clement, and he is not someone who's going to work with Raylan. So the show is kind of missing a couple of those elements.
To me, where I think they missed the mark the most, and at least in this episode, is that, and I think this does tie into Raylan doing his work, but I wanted to see him be madder about this whole situation, because if you guys are going to bring in the Willa character and just make it so that, okay, she's a part of this show for a few episodes, like her or not, I feel like everybody on the collective internet, which is known for making its opinion clear, have been very clear about how they feel about the daughter character. But if you are going to have her be a part of these first few episodes and then leave as a function of Raylan getting into all of this and have that awkward goodbye and all of this other stuff, I needed to see Raylan just sort of be like, I am really just I'm so unbelievably frustrated about all of this. I was finally spending some time with my daughter. I got roped into this, and because of this nonsense, I don't get to do that anymore. She's left, she's mad at me, and now I'm stuck. I wanted to see him take out some of this anger and frustration in a more visceral way. We have seen Raylan Givens throughout Justified, the original show, like fly off the handle for way less than this. Like I wanted Oliphant to just really, really be going for it. And maybe he will as this season goes along. But I just wanted to see him crank it up a little bit now. But I mean, with Willa gone, there's nothing holding him back in that sense anymore. And they could have done a little bit more.
Yeah, it feels like they didn't grow the Willa character
Yeah.
and they didn't grow Raylan. So what was the point of it? Like, if she's there to be like, oh, I'm doing all these, bad girl things to try to get your attention. You tell me to be at the hotel room. I'm leaving. I punch this girl in the nose. She's being rebellious to be able to get his attention, to be like, why do you think I'm doing these things? I only see you for a couple of weeks a year and then that's it. Like, be here, be my dad. And on the other side, he's like, yeah, I'll do better. He didn't do better because he needs to go to work. And I mean, that's just the thing that needs to happen. Her timing was bad. I mean, he's right in the middle of a pretty big case here now. He wasn't when they started, but he is now. There's no understanding on her part. So there was no growth of these characters. There was no, hey, maybe if I go about this another way, I'll be able to grow with my dad and have some understanding of his job. Where then Raylan on the other side is like, okay, maybe I can balance things a little bit better, kind of like what they've done over on Bosch.
Yeah, there was never a lot of balance, and now
so it's like, what's the point?
Yeah,
like she's the same, he's the same. Cool.
Yeah,
3 episodes and everyone's the same.
Like I still think there's a chance we might see her in the finale, but it's just
probably.
Like I'm not thinking that far ahead. Like really, to me, the best part of this episode is ironically the very end of the episode, because it's just like you mentioned Carolyn being a great character.
She's great.
I love Carolyn as a character. I think the idea of having this person who, has a very important job, but she's finding herself tied to this really just terrible person who is also her client. And Raylan has to sort of toe the line of how to talk to her as somebody he needs and somebody he can use, while also not spooking her, while also not getting himself off by Clement. Like, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of different layers that need to be sort of unpeeled. And Raylan knows that, okay, she's obviously key if I'm going to find a way to take down Clement somehow. It's just like doing that is not remotely easy.
She just needs to invite him in.
Oh,
listen, the chemistry
it's true.
It is
true.
Woo off the charts. But no, she's the best new character into this series, and it's not even close. And she's living in such a murky gray area of she wants to be a judge. She's not able to because of some stuff that her ex has done. So she's really stuck. She's got this, really difficult client, Clement, who's, seemingly kind of hanging a bunch of stuff around over her head, threatening her in kinds of ways that she feels like she can really stand on her own 2 feet. She's definitely not, a wilting flower in any kind of way where she's going to let him push her around. But at the same time, she understands that he's dangerous. She understands that she's like, listen, like, I'm a lawyer and I represent killers. This is how it goes. This is how I make my money. I'm fully aware that I work in the gray area of life. Then there's everything that's going on with Sweetie, who had brought this idea to her where he's like, hey, I might have the murder weapon. What do you think about that? What can you get me? She comes to him. Yeah, I can get you an immunity deal. However, you're going to have to testify. Now, Sweetie's like, listen, let's just hold the phone a second here, because that magical book that everybody's been talking about that the judge has, Clement's got that now. And, there's a sweetheart deal on the table for me with this partnership with him. Maybe there's a judge's seat for you. She is so complicated. And it has been a very long time since I've seen a character like that on TV.
I think where I'm hoping things really go from here, because I think this is the most entertaining outcome and it's different than what we typically get, is that it's a weird analogy, but hey, this is why we're all here, to make weird analogies. Did anybody remember the old like childhood board game Mousetrap where you
So fun,
it
except it never really worked
okay,
because it was kind of cheaply made with the plastic. So when the trap came down, be like to right here, and then not the whole way.
it was always better on the commercials. But yes,
It absolutely was.
this is what Clement has basically done at this point, is that he has set up all these different mouse traps where if you come at him, he just flicks his wrist, all these different machinations kind of come into play, and things come back around and end up trapping you. And this is sort of where he's getting his power. It's from information. It's obviously from having this book, but also making deals, making arrangements, knowing that, okay, if you take me down, then Carolyn's going to be taken down, or something's going to happen to Sweetie, or something's going to happen to various people in the force. And he has set this up now to where everyone knows he's guilty. Everyone knows he's a problem, but what can they do about it? Because if they take him down, they're taking themselves down, because he will unleash Pandora's box on all of them. And so if you are then Raylan, how do you get any of these people on your side? I need him at one point the rest of the season, just take off the hat and just start pounding his head against the wall, because it's like nobody wants to work with somebody who's also going to expose them.
Yeah, and I mean, Raylan's biggest issue here is exactly that. Nobody wants to work with him. I mean, he's really trying to get to Clement, but it's like Carolyn now has the judge, job being kind of dangled in front of her. I mean, could he get close enough to her to maybe get her to work with? Maybe. I mean, it's difficult because she also represents Clement. So, Sweetie now is all in. He's just like, he's hugging him in his underwear, and his robe is just like, I don't know about this. Oh, we're partners. Bring it in. I'm just like, okay, so he's not going to help. And,
No.
they've introduced sort of new characters with, Toma, and sort of the head of this mob that's just like, why would I help you? You've just given me information about Clement. So, I don't need you anymore. He's really on his own. I mean, even his own sort of partner is working against him. It's like, Toma goes and kills him. That's fine. Just like, oh, okay. Ren's like, no, we're trying to put him away.
I want to get more excited about the mob storyline than I am.
I am not excited about it at all. Listen, like, my brother's been trying to get me to watch Sopranos and all kinds of mob stories.
Yeah.
I'm just not here for it. I don't know what it is about it. I just am not here for it.
I don't know. It's never been my bag. And I love Hot Dog Guy, and I will still maintain that I love Hot Dog Guy, but I don't need Hot Dog Guy to introduce like a lot
His
of other
boss.
people. Yeah. I don't need the rest of it. Here's the thing that interests me about all of this, and this is where I'm putting on the tinfoil hat here.
Oh, yeah. All right.
We'll talk a little bit about Sandy for a moment, because she saw firsthand what Clement did with Hot Dog Man.
And that door.
Yeah, at the start of this episode. And it was pretty brutal. And I think, Sandy's not innocent in any of this. Like, I think that's pretty darn clear.
Yeah.
But I think if you're Sandy, you have to sort of eventually get to a point of how much is too much. And how much is it going to eventually be a point where I'm watching what Clement is doing to Hot Dog Man? What am I going to see him do to the next person, where she's just going to be like, you know what? I'll take my prison sentence. I will take whatever you throw at me.
I don't know. I feel like, at least at this point, she's very much like, I've got on my hard hat.
Yeah.
As long as you don't do it to me, we're good.
If I'm Raylan, and obviously I'm not Raylan, would be fun though to be Timothy Oliphant. Like, let's just be honest here. No, but if I'm Raylan at this point, I am going to try to poke the Clement bear as much as I can, to a reasonable extent. Not to where he's like going to come and just like take me out in the middle of the night, but Willa's not there anymore. You don't have to worry about Willa being in danger. But if you can provoke Clement to the point where he starts to make other people want to back off on him, you might be getting somewhere. You have to find a way to sever these ties to a certain extent. And we already know that Clement can be very unpredictable. So the question then becomes, okay, how do you do this? Now, We know Raylan can be a little bit of a rule breaker, to put that
Absolutely.
mildly. I think he can show up at some really inconvenient places, just like he's just hanging out outside of Carolyn's. He is the detail. You can find a way to do this to just like make Clement really, really annoyed to where he starts losing business or he starts losing influence because everybody's gonna be like, why is this dude following you all the time, Clement?
Yeah, Raylan needs to get his hands on that book because once he gets that book, this all unravels. Like, this is what Clement has that's keeping everybody around. Carolyn's looking at the judge job, and we got Sweetie over here being like 50-50 partners. Oh my goodness, I could live in a place like
Yeah.
this. Cool, sign me up. Of course, Sandy's with Clement. So it's like, well, if Clement's got the money, I've got the money. I'm his woman. So, like, let's go. He needs to get his hands on that book because the minute he takes that from Clement is going to unravel.
Here is what City Primeval really needs. 2 more episodes. Like, it needed to be 10 instead of 8. And I think there's become this trend. It's just like, okay, we need to make everything shorter and more packed in for whatever reason. But I think for a show like this, and you've already alluded to a lot of the fact that just there's a lot of these people we're still just getting to know. If you had a couple of episodes more, not 13 to where it's like dragging or whatever, you could stretch out this current storyline, but then also give us a little bit more time to breathe with people like Carolyn, people like Sweetie, where we get more invested in them. We understand their motivations more. We understand more somebody like Sandy's motivations for wanting to be in the orbit of Clement as much as he was. I think if we just had a little bit more time to be reeled into all these different people, we could sort of understand the perilousness of this situation a little bit more.
Yeah, if you're gonna waste, and I say that
Yeah.
word in standoff, if you're gonna waste 3 episodes with the daughter and not the other characters that are building up the rest of the arc, like Sweetie, like Carolyn, like Sandy, like Clement. These are the people we need to get to know,
Yeah.
as well as the cop that Raylan is working with that we don't really know that much
No.
about, but it seems like they're all involved in that book as well, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot of sort of weird gray area that everybody is in, but we don't know a lot of these characters that well because we spent so much time on a daughter who is no longer on the show that it's like, if you're going to do that, yes, it needs to be longer. It needs to be 10 or 11 episodes because you're spending 3 episodes on a character that's gonna leave. They
Yeah.
should have just not had the daughter there, gave us those 3 episodes on all the characters I just mentioned,
Yeah.
because they're the people that we're getting invested in.
And I know a lot of people in response to all this will be like, whoa, 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 they could do a second season. But it's like, can they? Okay, this is a quote
Maybe.
unquote limited series. But my understanding, and I could be wrong on all of this, but it feels like this is meant to have a defined beginning, middle, and end. And if they do another Justified, it's going to be another limited series, another sort of like standalone story like this. Like, I have to think that there's going to be closure to City Primeval at the end of all of this. And so that means that you sort of slowed everything down with Willa and this other stuff at the start of this. And then we're just going to talk really, really, really fast about everybody else through like the remaining 5 episodes. And then we're all just sort of left being like, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, listen, they could have wrapped up this whole, if Willa was the reason to sort of, get everything moving so that we had Raylan out in Detroit and everything that's going to be happening here, that could have happened in 1 episode.
Yeah, I agree.
They could have gotten him out there. He's like, listen, I got to take on this job. I'm going to have to send you back. Don't have Winona out on vacation. Just
Yeah.
have her back home and be like, okay, I'm going back.
I guess
Or drop her off at the camp, like something.
they must have really just been wanted us to be like, oh, this is a different Justified. It's all different. It's all new. We're gonna really surprise people. It's like, okay, nobody's really watching to be surprised by the Willa storyline. I'm sorry.
No, and you can still bring in fresh new characters like Carolyn or Clement or whoever and make it fresh without having it be, oh, it's Boyd, Ava, and Raylan, and we're doing sort of the same thing again. Okay, you're not. You're bringing in other characters. You don't need to bring in Raylan, the dad who's dropping the ball.
All right. Well, we'll see where we go the rest of this way here. I think the end of this episode gives me a little bit of hope that we're really moving in the right direction now.
Yeah, it feels like this is the premiere.
Well, with that in mind, let's hope the other 4 episodes of
Oh
this
my
season
goodness.
end up being really, really great. No,
Yeah.
but thank you guys for watching. Join our Patreon. We have live streams over there every Tuesday. And thank you to
Yep.
everyone who's already
Thank
supporting
you.
us there. We'll see you here next time.